Check. Check, check, 1, 2. Check. Christ almighty, man. All right. Should be able to hear me now. Check, check, 1, 2. I hope so. I guess I have to have my browser. I have to plug in my mic before I open my browser. Don't ask me why that makes any amount of sense. I have no idea, but I guess that's just the way it is. Thank you again, Uncle Bullfrog, Uncle Al in the flesh, or digital flesh, anyways, for the gifts. I made some of the rice dinner today with some sausage. That was very nice. It's very nice indeed. And oh, I should make some of that coffee today. Now that that cotton bag is dry, before it gets too late, because if that coffee's strong, so if I drink it about 5 or 6, I'm gonna be up till like 11. But speaking of which, I was gonna check the weather in your neck of the woods, see if it's awful there too. Actually, almost identical. Let's see, a high of 87. We had a high of 90 today. So Visalia was actually nicer today than. Interesting. Interesting. Just like straight or modified? Because pie crust, as far as I know, is classically just flour, water, and butter. Yeah, I know that coffee's going to be strong. Smells really good. In fact, I gotta dig out my vacuum sealer today so I can seal half of it so it doesn't go bad. Because I'm sure you know ground coffee doesn't last as long as non-ground coffee. So it's going to, if I don't seal it in something airtight, um, in a couple weeks, it's not going to be as fresh as not going to be as fresh as it should be. Mm. Reminds me, I meant to look up tax sales. The only problem with tax sales is usually you have to be present, which is kind of a pain in the butt. So I'd have to drive up there to be physically present for the tax sale. But yeah, I mean, once you do the title search, if the title's clear or clear enough, it might be like utility lien or something on it. But I gotta admit, your neck of the woods. Oh, interesting. Your neck of the woods is just a little bit far to be driving up on the weekends and like working on a house. But if I didn't have to do it like forever and ever, like if I bought a property up there, then spent like 2 months every weekend driving up to get it in good shape, and then put a renter in, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Maybe I could finally afford to buy an ultralight and just fly up there. Of course, by the time I take all my tools with me, I think the ultralight would fall out of the sky. No, but I mean, anywhere. Look, My my opinion on that is owning land is better than not owning land. Owning a house is better than not owning a house. Whether or not I'm ever going to live up there is another story, but um, I think people in California, even more so than they are, and you were talking about this, are going to start moving to more rural areas because it's just too damn expensive to live in the city. Maybe I'll start an ultralight taxi business. I have to admit, an ultralight taxi business is not as crazy as it sounds because the gas isn't that much more. And if you could save on traffic or like fly over a mountain or something and kind of cut through like that, well, I mean, sure, if you could get a little bit of a lift from the wind, that's always nice. Oh, well, Exeter is right next to where you are. I don't see like there's a big difference. Along with Tulare, Page, Goshen, Tarusa, Lindsay, all these other towns I've never heard of. Did you see the news about the volcano, Mount Kilauea, erupting? At least a little bit. Kind of exciting stuff. Oh, come on. Hooverville. We're talking about Hawaii or California right now? Hooverville's in New Mexico, yeah? See, Hooverville, Hawaii. Or do you mean Hooverville like the Hoover Towns? Hooterville. I don't know what you're talking about, Hooverville, Hooterville. I have to admit, this isn't the most strategic time, as in a lot of Hooters or the name of an actual town. Oh, well, let me go ahead and see if I can. Well, I see Toolville. Maybe Toolville and Hooterville could go together, but Hooterville is not jumping out on Google Maps at me. Hmm, interesting. I have to take your word for it. What's up, Garden Love? What's going on, Joe? You know, I haven't forgot about you. Have not forgot about you, Joe. I finally got. I was getting some code working today, some MATLAB code. Doing what was I doing? Shooter method, bisection method with Runge-Kutta fourth order. Oh, God damn it! I'm always biting my lip. This is what I was working on today. You know, that ham thing is on my to-do list. I just have to prioritize like all my prepper goals, right? So I have some money to spend on that stuff, but you know, if getting ham radio equipment's like $800, kind of have to like build that into. I know it's several $100s anyways. I guess you can kind of start with like small radios and then work your way up. Speaking of which, Joe, what do you think? Like, just like numbers wise, what's sort of the cheapest, most budget friendly radio you would think of, like, for someone to get into? Like, is it even worth going handheld on ham, or should I get like a? I do need to practice Morse code. I have not memorized Morse code. Okay, Yasu 450. Oh my God. I think you got to be more specific, Joe, because there's a lot of different 450s. Are you talking about like an FT 450D, which is like kind of a big unit, which has a? Are you talking about an FTA 450L? Oh wait, com radio only. An FT 450D costs $680. Yeah, Jesus. I mean, not to say it's not in my future, but I think my car's, you know, it's just hard to. It's hard for me to budget $680 when I don't even have like 6 months of food and water, you know, into communication budget. But I have a feeling at some point in the future there will be a ham in my life. Starving prepper. I never claimed to be starving, but I do appreciate the care package without a doubt. FT818 low power. Why is that under $840? We're not going the right direction here. Uh, $850. Wrong way. Going the wrong way. Interesting. You should make some videos about like good starting ham radios. I'm sure there's a million on YouTube already, Joe, but just don't make any comments about my weight in regards to having a terminal illness. I don't know who that was, but somebody came on the stream and was like, "Oh my God, you're so thin. Looks like you have cancer." I was like, "Wow, fuck you too." I know all of America is overweight, but that doesn't mean every single damn person on the planet is. Yeah, obviously looking for a used one would be a good idea. Oh, it's all right. Everyone comes in different shapes and sizes. I did a video recently about top 5 things preppers think they have figured out. KE0OG. God, that's a confusing name. What's going on, Special Ed? I don't think I've seen you around. I do have the cheap Baofeng. I've heard of a J-pole antenna. Nagoya NA. Oh Jesus. NAGOYANA771. Man. Oh. I keep wanting to do a video where I go up to the hill in my neighborhood and try to listen to different stations, but problem is the Baofeng is all analog and almost everyone around here is on digital, so there's like nobody I can pick up. All right, let me find this guy real quick. Let's see, is this guy still live streaming? I know Cab7's got a lot of my potential viewers on right now, but that's okay. David Kassler, I think is who you're talking about. Wait, maybe are you talking about David Kassler, Joe? Because I'm not. Or K E Jesse. Oh Christ. I think David Kassler. Yeah, Keogh's lesson for blah blah blah. I think he used to call himself that, but then he changed his name. Maybe I don't know. That's a little confusing, but anyways. Holy good God. 2 meter handheld feature FT70. Yeah, that's the one thing that really keeps me out of ham is just how ridiculously costly it is. And it would be invaluable in a shit hits the fan situation, but before then, I don't know. I guess I'm just not passionate about radio. Maybe I could get more passionate about radio, but at the moment, I'm not super passionate about radio. I think it's cool, but I don't know if I think it's spend $450 on it cool. FT70. I'm trying to go eBay. $200. Now we're getting a little closer. Of course, I'd have to look up, FM 144, 430 megahertz dual band 5 watt handheld transceiver. Huh. Alrighty. I'll have to add this guy onto my watch list just to kind of keep an eye on this type of modestly priced da, da, da. God, am I even logged in? Speaking of eBay, I finally got a check from the claim department. I had a shipping nightmare that was partially my own fault, partially FedEx's fault, and they wanted to get all the stuff for the claim, and then they wanted to deny the claim. Then they turned around and cut a check and said, well, you still didn't follow the rules, but we're going to cut you a check anyways. And I was like bending over backwards for weeks and weeks, sending them pictures and information and receipts and quotes and prices. And I swear, it makes me never want to use FedEx again. If you ever ship anything expensive with FedEx, just be prepared that the claim department is staffed by monkeys. Just want to let you know that. They're trained monkeys, but they're monkeys nonetheless. Yeah, it was a goddamn disaster. It was just a complete and utter disaster. You know, I just logged out of my email, Joe, I tell you. Suspicious Observers just released a vid. I don't know who that is. Oh, you know, one of these days I'm just going to link this darn account to my normal account. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you have multiple Gmail accounts, you can connect them. So, like, I could get my LA prepping email into my normal Gmail account, my, like, you know, professional one. And then it would go straight into there, and then I could send out email, and it would look like it was coming from LA prepping, which would be cool. So it's you know, it takes like all of 2 minutes for me to do that. I just kind of, I don't know. I like to kind of separate my life sometimes, but other times it's just like a hassle to have to sign in. In fact, it's probably my least favorite part of doing anything online is constantly having to sign into stuff. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Gosh, what do I have? So many windows open. Okay. Space news. Oh, we're going to talk about space? Talk about space. Space is super interesting. There's all sorts of fascinating stuff going on in space these days. Well, I would talk about aliens, but I don't know anything about aliens. I mean, all I know is what I hear on YouTube. You know, it's kind of hard to get like verifiable information on aliens, to be honest. Because unless you talk to someone that you like know beyond the shadow of a doubt is like telling the truth, it's all kind of like somebody, you know, story. Like even, you know, Die Bullfrog, for example. Like I trust Die Bullfrog with a lot of stuff, but even if Die Bullfrog said, "I saw an alien 20 years ago," you know, it's like I can only kind of take that, you know, so only because they're kind of like out there. Like if Die Bullfrog said, "I saw a buffalo 20 years ago," I'd be like, "Oh, okay, cool story, bro." You know, but it's like anyone. Like if someone I really trusted said I saw a Sasquatch, or if someone that really trusted me and I was telling them I saw a Sasquatch, they just wouldn't want to believe me unless they either really, really trusted me or unless they'd seen one too. Oh my God, the flat earthers, Joe, I can't. They're like the scum of the earth, Joe, I swear. Although if the earth was flat, I guess that would make ham radio a lot easier, wouldn't it? Solar eruption. All right, now I got to go check out the suspicious observers. Like a solar flail, a solar flare, solar flare dealio. Oh wow, this guy's all sorts into stuff. Electric Earth, Cosmic Heartbeat, and more. Interesting. I'll have to check that guy out. Yeah, the sun does all sorts of interesting stuff, and you know, it's releasing X-rays, and there's solar storms, and what are we at, a solar minimum going to a solar maximum, or we're a solar? I want to say we're a solar minimum right now. Um, let's see here. Okay, so the solar minimum, according to this article, is somewhere between 2019 and 2020. Yeah, I don't think that pole reversal is going to be coming anytime soon. That happened over like millions and millions of years. I mean, yes, the poles, I think it's scientifically shown that the poles reversed, but is it going to happen in 10 or 20 years? I don't know about that. What's up, trying surviving? Yeah, Joe's in my old neck of the woods. I miss San Diego. It was all. In fact, I bet San Diego's nicer than LA right now, weather-wise. Always freaking gorgeous in San Diego. Yeah, 76, high of 78. God damn it. I swear I'm going to retire in San Diego. So damn gorgeous there. I'm going to retire and have a boat and just play on the water. Like they have, what was it? Is it Mission Bay or Sail Bay? I think Sail Bay. Mission Bay is on the east side and Sail Bay is on the west side. But yeah, Mission Bay is kind of like the big area, but I think technically the bay on the left. Okay, so Sail Bay is further north, Mission Bay is further south, and then like Fiat on the left side you have Sail Bay and Mission Bay, and on the right you have Fiesta Bay. But then Mission Bay is kind of the general area. Yeah, that whole place for like jet skiing and windsurfing, it's like a playground. It's a giant freaking playground. It's so awesome. Joe thinks sun cycles play hell with the high frequency radio. Yeah, the sun doing crazy stuff can have a problem with all sorts of terrestrial things, as well as satellites up in space, which of course are handling a lot of our communications, pretty much all of our communications. I gotta admit, try and survive sooner state. I've never heard that. Like sooner rather than later? Must be some kind of Oklahoma joke. Had to do with people going into the state for some land rush. I'm reading about it right now. Those who entered the region before the land run's designated starting time at noon, April 22nd, 1889, were dubbed Sooners. because they got there soon enough. Weird nickname. Crown Point. Crown Point. Crown Point. Wait, you live at Crown Point, Joe? Are you on the water? Don't tell me you're on the water, man. I'm gonna be so jealous. What's up, L. Stewart? Got your SPF 47,000. Yeah. Got your Buckeye. Are you asking me if I bought a knife yet? The answer is no, if that's what the question is. You guys could like try a little hard to write like somewhat complete sentences. I can't understand what the hell. By the way, if you want to okay. If you want to respond to someone in particular, write an ampersand. Sorry, not the ampersand, the at sign, and then their name. Like if I want to respond to Die Bullfrog, I can go at Die, and if you just start typing in their name, it'll look like that. Or if I want to respond to Joe, so it makes it a little easier in the conversation if you're answering someone's question, like say at their username, so that people can kind of like understand what the heck is going on. Just my 2 cents. You guys are free to. Tar Heels. God, you guys keep using terms. I have no idea what you're talking about. Well, I have heard the Buckeye State. I was about to say if I was going to get free land, I would cross the border too, and then I just thought about all our friends south of the border. You know, Tar Heels is North Carolina. No kidding. Did not know that. See, this is why I need to travel across the country so I can learn stuff like this. So I don't know if you guys heard the news, but the Boy Scouts of America is officially going to be kaput. Well, at least is insofar as their name and perhaps insofar as what they stood for. But the Boy Scouts of America is now going to be called Scouts BSA. Which, considering boy is still in the name via acronym, sounds good, that bullfrog, is a little bit silly in my opinion. And I watched somebody who made a video about their thoughts on Scouts and the BSA, and he had some interesting points. He was kind of coming from a sort of a classic traditional point of view, like men should raise men and women should raise women, and men need to grow up to be men and women need to grow up to be women, and kind of stuff like that. I'm not going to say who the video was. Oh, is that where that came from, Joe? I did not know that. That's really interesting. But so, anyways, this person who made this video was talking about the Girl Scouts going, just kind of the Girl Scouts being ruined by like he mentioned one thing that instantly would be enough to not want me or my daughter to be a part of it. Was he said that the Girl Scouts had to camp at like, or they were really strongly encouraged to camp at Girl Scout camps or Girl Scout approved campsites or whatever, um, as opposed to just a state park or a federal, like a forest or something like that. And I thought that was really interesting. He also mentioned that there was an example where his wife, who was a Girl Scout leader, was trying to get the girls involved in throwing tomahawks. And the big scout, granted, you could just go buy some tomahawks and go do it with your troop, but of course, it doesn't always work like that with like public organizations. If a girl gets hurt with a tomahawk and it's not a scout approved activity, and then the leaders are responsible, blah blah blah, somebody gets sued. Uh, little Susie loses her finger. So, Girl Scout Association said no tomahawks. That's kind of bullshit. I mean, I can't throw a tomahawk to save my life, but nevertheless, I think it's a little ridiculous to say that girls can't do it or whatever. And the person making the video was talking about like the stack of paperwork. Yeah, the stack of paperwork required to take the Girl Scout troop to a non-Girl Scout camp was like ridiculous. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't really been around Girl Scouts since I was, kind of drug along to Girl Scout day camp, which I don't think is really a fair representation of Girl Scouts in general. But I just be a little bit suspect about the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, Scouts should really just be about, in my opinion, about gaining like outdoor skills, leadership, character development, and outdoor skills, like two big things. So becoming a better person and becoming a more able person. Well, not just about the outdoors, community service kind of plays into that a little bit. But Tillerson, huh? I don't personally think so, Guy Bullfrog. I don't. Yeah, and that's an excellent comment, and I'm going to get to that. Try and survive in a minute. Life's a little more complicated than it used to be. But generally speaking, I think part of the advantage of separating the boys and the girls in their scouting activities is that boys and girls are different. Are there some girls that are interested in boy stuff? Yeah, sure there are. Are there boys that are interested in some more girly stuff? Like some guys think arts and crafts are girly, or they might think, cooking is girly or something like that. I don't know. But I don't think they need to be intermingled in every part of their life, right? Sports are different. Are we going to start letting like boys on the girl volleyball team and girls on the boys volleyball team, and girls compete in women's swimming and men compete, or yeah, women compete in men's swimming and men's compete in women's swimming? Like, if we start saying, there's nothing wrong with saying men and women are not the same. To say men and women are equal is sort of like a slap in the face to biology. We're biologically different creatures. Does it mean that men or women should be able to like do or have the chance to do different things? Like if you look at the extreme example of like joining the Navy SEALs, for example, I don't have a problem with women in the Navy SEALs as long as the standard is the same for men, as it has been. Don't have like a woman Navy SEAL standard and then a men's Navy SEAL standard. So same thing about like women as pilots. Women weren't allowed to be in combat, weren't allowed to be fighter pilots, weren't allowed to be like special forces and a lot of that stuff. And I think even the Navy still doesn't like women on submarines for probably sexually predatory related reasons, testosterone related reasons, which I suppose kind of makes sense, um, especially given how ostracized people in the service tend to be after reporting incidents like that, which is kind of sad. Yeah. Um, but back to scouting, I think there's nothing. I guess there is something stopping Girl Scout troops from maybe firing a rifle or firing a shotgun. Maybe the amount of waivers that a Girl Scout troop has to go through to go fire a 22 rifle at camp is so much that like nobody wants to deal with it, right? So I think there's definitely advantage to being able to kind of separate. Oh, what's up, Land? Swear to God, your name kills me. I think there's some benefit to being able to separate the two groups because you are going to find some common threads in the two groups. Like maybe a bunch of Boy Scouts might want to go to a different event or a different museum, like on a weekend, like a field trip or something, whereas a group of girls might want to go to a different one. So, but that being said, there really shouldn't be a reason that Boy Scouts can't do any type of activity and Girl Scouts, can't do any type of activity. They're Real Scouts with only 40% dead rate. I have no idea what that means, Die Bullfrog. What do you mean dead rate? Those are Real Scouts with only 40% dead rate. You mean like 40% aren't going to end up dead? I know you think everyone who's not. Yeah, of course girls can shoot. I mean, Christ. Isn't that like one of the top Russian snipers in World War II a woman? I mean, that's like a kind of not a great example, but oh, tunnel in the sky. Okay, I'll look up this. Allusion you're making to this piece of media. Crap. Okay. Yeah, and that's um, that comment about so girls can shoot, right? And the guy's video that I watched was saying that there was all this paperwork to go to a non-Girl Scout camp, right? So his theory was that one of the reasons that girls want to go into the Boy Scouts is the Boy Scouts do a lot more stuff that they're interested in, and the Girl Scout troops, for whatever reason, whether it's motivation, whether it's sexism, uh, whether it's bureaucracy. Oh, the cookies. That was the other thing. The Girl Scout cookies don't raise the money for a lot of girls or for the troops themselves. But so that was like his belief as to why more Girl Scouts want to hang out with the Boy Scouts because they think the Boy Scouts, are doing more fun stuff. That I don't think most teens in high school are having intercourse. That's just my opinion. I think the idea that like 80 or 90% of all adolescents are sexually active is kind of a bunch of hooey. Um, does that mean that I want my teenage daughter hanging out with other random teenage boys, or I want my teenage son hanging out with random teenage girls? Not really, to be honest. Kind of my own personal view, but I just don't see this need to commingle everything. Everything doesn't have to be the same. Sometimes guys just want to hang out with guys, and sometimes girls just want to hang out with girls. Like, it doesn't make sense for society to put this sort of fake, we have to combine everything attitude into every activity in life, right? Say, like, oh, well, if you're hanging out with your girlfriends, you should have guys around too, or guys that are hanging out always need to have girls hanging around them too. It's just kind of it's just a really weird thing to me that I can kind of understand like a troop here and there, like if the troop as an individual organization, not as part of the Boy Scouts, but just like the troop itself wants to let in a girl or two, like maybe that should be like up to the troop and the parents or whatever. But for the whole organization to say, oh yeah, we used to be Boy Scouts, but now we can have girls in here too, so now we're just Scouts. And I really wonder if they're going to start changing like any of the requirements for the merit badges as far as like based on like sexist beliefs on women not like being able to be as physically fit? Are they going to say like you don't have to hike as much, you don't have to swim as far, or stuff like that? Not a lot of the merit badges are physically related to physical stuff, but I just I just don't see why they have like I wouldn't say they've ruined scouts, but I think they've definitely bastardized it. You know, it's just it's not going to be the same. Now, granted, if I look back at all the time I spent in scouting, if I imagined that we had a girl in our troop, there's not really a lot of times when the situation or the language or the attitude would have been like inappropriate for a girl. And most of the stuff that the scout leaders taught us about trying to be a better human being didn't have to do with being a guy or a girl. It just had to do with like be a better human being. It's not like you should volunteer because you're a man and men should volunteer, or you should be trustworthy, loyal, friendly, and helpful, blah blah blah, because you're a guy. It's like you should be trustworthy because you should be trustworthy. That's why. Just because. Be a decent human being. So I kind of I don't necessarily think that like it's gonna be really a problem with like teaching men to be like that men are going to be less taught to be men if girls are with them, or that girls are going to get taught to be men if they hang out with boy scouts. I'm not quite so old fashioned. I don't know how much masculinity was taught in our scout troop, and I don't know how much femininity is taught in a girl scout troop. I mean, I don't think they sit around the campfire talking about like how to put on makeup, right? Or how to get a guy to like you or something like that. Maybe individual scouts might talk about a crush or something or whatever, but you know, it just it's just kind of sad to me to see an institution that's been around for 100 years. Yeah, well, exactly. Try and survive. Everyone needs to know survival skills. There's no difference between like how to build a shelter if you're a man and how to build a shelter if you're a woman. That's why I kind of like railed on one of Hoople's videos a few months ago. He was like, "Oh, we need to be more sensitive to like women in prepping," and I made this whole 15-minute video about how are you going to make a video that's different for women than for men? Like how to chop wood like a man, how to chop wood like a woman, how to use a chainsaw like a man, how to use a chainsaw like a woman, how to plant a garden when you're a man, how to plant a garden when you're a woman. Like who fucking cares, right? What's the difference? Um, and it's funny, I was thinking about this video and this topic, and part of me thought, well, traditionally women were in the home, but I think that whole like women in the home thing is sort of a more recent phenomenon, because if you go back a little bit further, um, granted, women haven't been in the official workplace, kind of as society has kind of kept them out of the workplace, but um, yeah, that I know, Garden. That video of Hooples did spur a bit of a thing, but back in the day, no one spent a lot of time in the home. You had a lot of work to do. Everyone was agricultural. Everyone was growing their own food, doing their own stuff. You know, everyone was tending to the chickens, tending to the cows, tending to the garden, fixing clothes, going to the store, earning. If a family sold jam and like the guy was a farmer, but they sold like vegetables and sold jam and sold and prepared stuff. What's the difference between like being the man running a tractor or being the woman doing the canning, for example? I'm sure there are plenty of women that run tractors, too, back in the day. But excuse me. But yeah, so this whole idea that like we need to teach men to be men and teach women to be women, I think is kind of a little bit messed up. Um, Most men that I meet these days that are kind of my age or a little bit younger or a little bit older, I don't get a lot of like masculine. Oh, nice die bullfrog. I don't necessarily get a de facto masculine aura from men that I meet, nor do I necessarily get a feminine aura from women that I meet. I think how masculine you are versus how feminine you are is really kind of like a super personal thing. Um, I think it's mostly ridiculous. I think it's mostly ridiculous myself. That being said, I'm not a fan of makeup and skirts. And if I saw a guy walking down the street, with a beard and lipstick and a skirt, I might give him a funny look, but I wouldn't think he was like necessarily any less able to teach my kid how to start a fire. Like the guy that made the video was saying like, oh, I don't want homosexuals, to be camping out with my kids. And the person that was saying this is like kind of a religious person, and we all know that the church has not always been good about their treatment of young men in particular, to bring up kind of an unpleasant subject. So I and then of course, I could get into that whole like gays in the scouting. I'm not really going to touch that. I think that I don't think we need to witch hunt certain types of people, right? Um, that's just me personally. Yeah, I could have been a Texas boy. I don't know. So, I don't. The main reason I don't think boys, should be in Girl Scouts and girls should be in Boy Scouts doesn't really have to do with like masculinity and femininity. Shut up, typo frog. But my opinion is just that sometimes it's nice just to like hang around with guys, or sometimes it's nice to just hang around with girls if you're a girl. Girls don't always want to hang around men, and men don't always want to hang around women. You know, so this idea that we're just going to force men with women, and they're already doing it in high school, they're already dealing with it in other parts of their life. Why not give them a little bit of a break from that, interaction? The guy making the video made some other interesting topics. See ya, L. Stewart, about women like leading the troops. He was saying like, oh, I wouldn't want a woman leading my Boy Scout troop, or I wouldn't want her having a position of leadership. And I suppose some people might say the same thing about men in positions of leadership for a Girl Scout troop. So I think mostly he just is kind of going off very backwards is a strong word, but I'm going to say traditional ideas of masculinity and femininity. Because if you take that argument and say women shouldn't be leading Boy Scouts and men shouldn't be leading Girl Scouts, if you take that further into child rearing, are you saying like a single mom can't raise a son to be a well-rounded man? And are you saying a man can't raise a daughter to be a well-rounded woman? I mean, I think we all can agree that having a combination of masculine and feminine influence as you're growing up is probably kind of a better balance. And it doesn't all have to be from your direct parental unit. You can get feminine influence from teachers, from relatives, from family, from your peers, from all sorts of different places. So to say that like and back to my point about so I am in agreement in that I think that men should generally lead Boy Scouts and women should generally lead Girl Scouts, but that's not because I think men are more capable of teaching men to be men or women are more capable of teaching girls to be women. I think, like I said, it's just more a matter of sometimes it's nice to just get a little bit of separation, you know, because for a lot of kids, with the mom being a disciplinary figure and the dad's at work, the moms are always like railing on the kids, like, do this, do that, do this, do that. So it's kind of nice to be around men sometimes because you kind of get like a break from your normal day to day existence as an adolescent. And maybe for girls, it could be the same way. Girls might, maybe in a girl's life, her dad is the authoritative figure in that family or, whatever reason. And the dad's always like, you got to do this, sweetie, you got to do this, honey, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's nice for her to get a break from that situation and be around women that tend to be a little bit more kind of like communal and supportive than sort of like authoritarian. I find that men have a tendency to kind of be a lot more authoritarian and kind of like do this because I said so, whereas women leadership style is a little more like collaborative. That's kind of like a huge generalization, but that's just my very limited life experience. You can get women Hitlers and you can get men collaborators, too. So everyone's different. Yeah, uncles are cool. Uncles and family are really, nice because your cousins and your uncles will say things that your parents won't say, for better or for worse. Yeah, family is really awesome for that. So, anyways, I just thought I would share share a little bit of my thoughts about Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, and I'm looking forward to having kids someday and doing all sorts of awesome things with them. But I don't know if Scouts is going to be a part of their life. You know, I, is anger management more of an issue for men than women? A lot of people would say yes. Um, I think, in my own personal experience, men tend to be a little more upfront about their frustration, and women tend to be a little more passive aggressive about their frustration. Now, of course, that really depends on the individual. But if you piss off a guy, he'll come right at you and say, "What the hell's wrong with you? F you. You're dumb. You're stupid." But if you piss off a woman, she'll just kind of like nod and be like, "Okay, okay, I'm gonna fucking ruin your life." Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. like a little more sort of like subversive, like not as confrontational. At least that's been kind of my experience. But again, it really depends on the person. My parents are kind of like opposite in certain ways of like what their theoretical like role is. Like my mom was very confrontational. My dad was much less confrontational, but my dad is very masculine, in other certain ways, and my mom was a caretaker, like in other ways. But anyways, yeah, Scouts BSA, Scouts BS. God, I mean, at least I got a rank, the Eagle rank, from an organization that doesn't even exist anymore. It's funny. I went to college and my college changed its name, so I went to Scouts and my scouting organization changed its name. Who knows? Maybe my state's gonna change its name. I'll be born in a state that doesn't even exist anymore. I mean, Christ. I knew the world was gonna change when I grew up, but I didn't know it would change this much. Girls and the Boy Scouts. Get out of here. Go sell your cookies somewhere else. And I have to admit, I've never really been jealous of the Girl Scouts, but those goddamn cookies. We sold popcorn and wreaths. The wreaths were all right, but you'd only sell wreaths at Christmas. That's the problem with wreaths, is nobody wants a wreath when it's not Christmas time. And popcorn, goddamn popcorn. And we had to do it door to door. Girl Scouts just set up in front of Safeway and they smile and everybody loves them. And to be honest, part of the deal with fundraising is it's supposed to teach you about sales and marketing and organization. They just sit there looking cute and people come up and buy cookies. Like, I jerky would be a good thing to sell, but I don't often buy cookies from Girl Scouts because they're all right, but I just don't really need to pay $5 for a box of cookies. I'll buy them once in a while. And the only thing that like sometimes I give them a little bit of marketing advice, even though it just kind of is like, wow, what are you talking about? But see you, Landon. Thanks for coming by. Hey, Carl. But so they'll be standing in front of the door, right, at the entrance of like the grocery store. And sometimes they'll just be standing there, and other times they'll say, would you like to buy some Girl Scout cookies? And sometimes I'll say no, thank you, or whatever. And sometimes I'll say no, thank you, but I'm really glad that you asked, because the more people you ask, the more cookies you're going to sell. So make sure you ask every single person, either on their way in or way out, just to kind of increase your conversion. Or I might give them some advice about, you know, you can expand on the would you just like to buy some cookies? You could say, like, would you like to buy some cookies to help us support our troop, go camping, buy this. blah blah blah. It's kind of like implied, but I, you know, I don't think the parents give them any advice on how to sell cookies. They just say, stand here, get your uniform, smile, ask them if they want to buy cookies. Like sales is a little bit more than just, oh, do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy this? Like that's the worst sales tactic in the world, you know? I mean, we're teaching our women to rely on cuteness and location to get ahead in life. Be cute and stand at the door and talk to every person you meet until something happens. Is that the best sales technique? Sounds like a car salesman technique. Oh, there's one. Gotta go get him. You know, at the car. I used to work at a car dealership. I lasted for 4 weeks. Sold 2.5 cars. How do you sell half a car? Well, you start selling it, and then somebody else closes. That's half a car. I was the first one. I closed the next two. But there was a line. There was a rotation. So somebody walks onto the lot. That's your lead. If they want to buy a car, they don't want to buy a car. You know, whatever. But then the next person in line comes up, and then you get them, and then the next person gets them, and then the next person gets them. So, you know, we're teaching our Girl Scouts to sell like sleazy car salespeople, you know, balloons and colors, and it's just silly. Every once in a while, the Girl Scouts selling cookies have a good idea. Like there was a story a few years ago about a girl that set up a booth in front of a medical marijuana dispensary. That girl gets my A+ Gold Star Entrepreneurship Award. You know, I give her mom some credit too. Because most parents, if you told them, "Oh, you know, my kid's going to go set up Girl Scout cookies," Mr. Hooples. It's because I just watched one of the people I was subscribed to do a video on Boy Scouts changing their name. That's why I'm talking about Girl Scouts. But you know, most parents, if you told them they were going to set up a booth in front of a medical marijuana dispensary, would say, "Oh, aren't you worried about the drug dealers and crime?" And oh my God, you know. But anyways, what else are we talking about? Volcanoes? Talking about the volcano that erupted? Oh my gosh. Then the third word of the live stream is scams. I was watching this live stream today. This woman has a lot of subs. In fact, I pissed her off a little bit and she put me in a timeout, but to be honest, I think she's full of crap. Not because she's a woman, but because she's full of crap. She was giving some people some real bad financial advice, some real bad debt validation advice. I used to work at a collection company, so settled I've settled more debt than like income I've made in the past several years, to be honest. So I'm kind of not like super proud of it, but you know, sometimes you make a lot of money, and then sometimes you don't make a lot of money, and shit kind of happens. So, damn, did the scouts actually butcher the cow, Die Bullfrog? That's pretty gangster. If the scouts actually butchered the cow. By the way, Hooples, can you shoot me an email with your mailing address? Excuse me, I've had something for several weeks now with your name on it, and I have to send it up to Canada because I know you'd appreciate it when you get a chance. That is the rustling badge. Thanks, Hooples. I should have saved it when you sent that package a while ago, and I thought I did, but I guess I didn't. But yeah, I was watching this video, and this lady was giving this horrifically awful advice about credit and collection and debts, and man, bad news bears. I almost made a separate video titled well, yeah, women used to do everything. Women used to do everything. This idea that like this is a man's job and this is a woman's job, um, it must be an invention in the left or the powers that be to just divide and conquer us. That was probably one of the greatest things to come. Besides the fact that we beat Hitler, the whole "Yes We Can" movement, Rosie the Riveter and all that. Like, look, Men aren't born knowing how to weld or how to rivet or how to use a grinder, you know? So I think World War II, with the shortage of male workers, was a really good example to women that, like, hey, you want to learn something? Learn it. Do it. No excuses. You know, there's no reason you can't learn how to weld. You can't learn how to. Ow. Man, I really got my tongue on that one. Stop eating this damn ramen. But anyways, yeah. So, oh, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. See you, Try and Survive. Thanks for coming by. Sorry we weren't talking a lot about prepping stuff, but you know how it is. Oh, single parents. Oh, and Try and Survive was talking about using kids as pawns, which was a really good point that I kind of wanted to touch on. This whole, you know, kids are marching for this and kids are marching for that and kids are going on daytime TV and Jesus Christ. You know, if my kid wanted to ditch high school to go protest, it better be a damn good reason. And he better have damn good grades. I would accept my kid getting detention or getting suspended for protesting. I don't think you get suspended just for like missing classes for a day, but maybe I'd tell him to call in sick. Being the sneaky person that I am, I'd probably say, just call in sick. I'll write a note for you. Don't worry about it. But, you know, there's a there's a fine line between encouraging your kids to be politically active and, you know, like taking it to the next level. And we've seen in a few cases it backfire. Like, who was Kyle Kashov, I think, was one of like the prominent, he's like a prominent pro Second Amendment rights student that was at Parkland. There's a little Hitler kid, the little devil kid, who's like super guns are bad and all that. I think Kyle Kashov went to that school. Now I got to look him up. Anyways, so this guy Kyle um, went to a. Okay, so Kyle Kashup is a survivor of the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting. Gotcha. I think that other Parkland. Oh, he is a Parkland student. Why does it say Stoneman Douglas High School? Maybe because it's in Parkland. Okay. So, anyways, Kyle went to the range like like a week or so ago, or a couple weeks ago. Had pictures of him at the range, and then the school was all trying to give him crap for going to the range. And this happened to like a couple other kids where they went to the range with their dad or mom or whatever, got some pictures, posted on social media, and then the school is trying to get them in trouble for perfectly legal activity. That is some Nazi stuff right there. That is scary stuff. I mean, just like unreal. It's crazy, you know, where our world is going, that we let um, that these schools and these, you know, these groups are kind of taking everything to the extreme. You know, like, oh, you went to the gun range, you're blah blah blah. Like, since when did, you know? Does that mean like if you go to I I, I don't know like what I'm gonna do with this analogy, but is it like, does it mean if you go drive go karts and you run off the track, you're gonna get in an accident when you get older? Or like, do we need to be sending pictures of people who can't drive a go kart to the DMV for, you know, like, where I don't understand this. I don't understand the craziness in this world. And I know that sometimes the media can kind of make it seem like the craziest is everywhere when really the craziness is just sort of like here and there, and it's not everywhere. But I tell you, and I don't watch too much of it. I definitely don't watch like broadcast news. I kind of check articles here and there. But man, what else is going on in the news today? NSA collected 534 million U.S. calls. Yeah, I did a report on Edward Snowden a few years ago in English class, and the whole class was looking at us like, "What are you talking about?" We're like, "No, seriously, the NSA records all your phone calls and everything and keeps it forever." And they were like, "No, they don't." We were like, "Yeah, they do." That's what Snowden said. That was the whole point. Ooh, wow, that's kind of crazy. Is it on knives? Is it on banning knives, Hooples? Oh, the whole dumping homeless thing has been a problem for a while. I don't know about hospitals necessarily, but cities have been shipping and busing. Like I think even in California, if you're homeless, I know this used to be a law. I don't know if they're still doing this, but it used to be if you could prove you had a family member out of state, California would buy you a bus ticket to go there, just put you on a bus. But yeah, like Nevada dumps homeless patients in California, and California's trying to dump homeless patients. I mean, we got excuse me, we got 50,000 homeless people in LA. It's I went to a client's house in Hollywood the other day, North Hollywood, to put together some outdoor furniture. And I swear, as soon as I got off the freeway, right as I went under, um, oh, nice try trying to hide that yawn. Yeah, well, I do what I can. But as soon as I got off the freeway, tents, just like both sides of the street, tents, right on the underpass, people hanging out, trash everywhere. Pretty much everywhere by the freeway, everywhere you can find parking that's free. I mean, I could do a video of it in LA, but I don't know what it would prove. It wouldn't really be the safest thing for me to go around recording homeless people. They don't necessarily like to be recorded, and I don't know if I don't know if there's much of a point to it. But come to think of it, maybe on Saturday, I guess I could try like driving through Skid Row a little bit. I have a dash cam, but the dash cam footage is kind of awful. I don't know if it's the most productive use of my time, but yeah, there are a lot of homeless people in LA. The city of LA, because they ship them all to the city. They don't let them congregate and hang out. I don't know if it's like some unspoken thing, but they do not survive long in the other city areas. They somehow all end up at the actual city of LA. All the suburban neighborhoods, all the cops in the suburban neighborhoods somehow just round them up and take them down. Of course, is uh, the county jail is in the city of Los Angeles proper, but they could always book them in the local jail. But the thing is, the local jails, might have like 8 cells or 4 cells or something, so they're not going to have as much space. But they just to concentrate. It would almost be better for society if you like spread them out more. If you kind of let a few in a park here, a few in a park there. But I guess the people in the city of LA haven't really figured out that most of the 50,000 homeless people are actually in the city of Los Angeles as opposed to being spread out all over LA County. I'm I'm probably never going to own property in the city or rent property in the city because I can't see the motivation to want to live around that. I mean, yeah, they're human beings, but I mean, Jesus, there was some story recently about this guy getting flesh-eating bacteria because he was walking through Skid Row. Crazy nasty stuff. I'm sure Hooples could speak about the joys of flesh-eating bacteria. One of the scariest things on the planet, in my opinion. Flesh-eating bacteria. It just sounds awful. Yeah, in fact, let me see if I can find that article. Wow. He lost his leg walking around the streets of Skid Row and he gained something in return. Well, he didn't gain a leg. Jesus. With all the stupid. Oh my God. I'm sorry. This website's got a lot of like ads, but yeah, crazy. I thought there was a more recent one though. So he had diabetes. He developed a blister, which exposed him to flesh-eating bacteria. Good God. Oh, oh, Jesus Christ. Remind me never to Google images of flesh-eating bacteria. Apparently, there's a flesh-eating ulcer outbreak in Australia. That sounds just lovely. Yeah, no kidding, Dive Bullfrog. It looks like I might not be getting out of here in the near future, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Oh, I think we're gonna go for about maybe 10-ish more minutes. I'm feeling the need for a little bit of a break, and we're kind of the viewers have died down a little bit. I think everybody's gone to get some dinner. Hooples, what's going on with you, man? Talk to me, brother. How's your have you made any headway on the housing situation plan? I know you kind of want a house in a couple years in 2020 for your folks' land up there on those all those beautiful acres, and I know you have a few different options. I mean, I guess you have as many options as you can afford, right? You give someone enough money, they'll put a house on a piece of land for you. I still think my option is the best. Just live in an RV for a couple years and kind of like figure out what you want to do. Of course, then you're living in an RV for a few years and with the dogs and everything and the cold, maybe not the greatest situation, but interesting. Okay. 15 by 10, upper story. Wow, 15 by 10. Yeah. But it's just going to be you and the wife and the dogs, right? It's not going to be like any kids or grandparents or stuff like that, or parents or yeah. I don't know why I assumed it was feet. You're right. It could have been meters. 15 by 10 meters is a pretty epically big cabin, and I would not think that's a cheap cabin. Do you know when you're going to start building it? Staying in a motel before it's built. So are you going to retire and then go stay at a motel? Or are you going to have them start building it like now so it's ready when you get there? Soon. Oh, wow. So they're going to start building it soon. So you live where you are now in your house, which rent or own, whatever, and then okay. Oh, so and then you're going to pay someone to build an actual big home, whole or some bigger type of home, anyways. Holy heavens, God. Well, you could always, you could put some climate control in the outhouse. You can get a solar panel, a little electric heater, and set it to like 70 degrees or 65 degrees. Wouldn't be the biggest deal in the world. Shit, 60 degrees, you'd be sweating buckets wearing all that snow gear. You could have like, you could have like a little awning or something, like some plastic. You could do like a little quarantine zone to keep the snow out on your way out to the outhouse. Courage is loitering. Who's gonna loiter at your property? Aren't you in like the middle of the aren't isn't the acreage like in a rural area? Like who's gonna loiter on your rural land? I'd be like, that's when you get the shotgun and say, get the F off my land, dude. What are you doing here? Or your dogs. I know your canine friends might be equally enthusiastic about discouraging visitors. Basic for us until we build the real home. So what kind of like real home do you mean? Like a big 3-2, like serious normal ass house that's going to cost you like $200,000 to build? It's a lot of money to build a house, but I guess, well, keep us updated, Hooples, with the whatchamacallit, with your project. It'd be interesting to see the whole house, get created. You got to find a spot to take pictures, and then you can take a picture every week or something, or every 2 weeks, and do one of those montages. Trespassers will be composted. LOL. Are you feeling stuck and miserable at work? I wish I was, Hooples. Wish I was. By the way, Mr. Hooples, if you want to make a video for Kaylin Strange, she's raising money to buy a tricycle. Since you have over 500 subs, I think it would be awful thoughtful of you, especially considering I'm seeing you linking here in a video that she did a couple weeks ago. See ya, Garden. Thanks for coming by. Well, I appreciate the words of encouragement, Hooples. I've put a lot of things in motion to get me to where I need to be on the job front. A lot of things in motion. I've cast my rod in several ponds so that I might gain myself a fish and stop having to ask other people for fish because I'm not the type to ask people for free fish. Yeah, Hooples, I can kind of understand the social media, the media thing, the internet, the whole connectivity thing. It can get a little bit too much sometimes for a variety of reasons. Um, I can appreciate that for sure. Plus, I mean, you got to like build a cabin or have a cabin built and have a house built, and that's kind of like a lot of work. I mean, I guess I could be doing other stuff like working on my paper. I actually got had a small but meaningful. Oh, excuse me. So Uncle Al coffee, I mean, had a small but meaningful success with some programming that I was working on today. So I kind of gave myself the rest of the day off, which maybe not the greatest idea in the world, but it's all right. It was a significant success. It was one of those things where it's like, I don't know, programming to me is very like you can spend 8 hours doing it wrong, and then the fix takes like a minute. You change this line and that value to the that value, and then boom, it's perfect. And you're like, I hate myself right now. Why couldn't I make this change, this 5 second change 8 hours ago? So I just went ahead and allotted 6 hours of time that I might have spent on it as being done early this morning. That's kind of how I'm playing that one. But yeah, the oh man, God forbid teachers actually make us learn anything useful and complicated, right? God forbid. Maybe someday I'll be a teacher, harass my students, tell them to stop texting in class. Our associate dean taught a class once, and one of the students had their phone out or something, and he was like, "What are you doing with your phone out? Do your other teachers like let you have your phone out during class?" And he was just getting into him, and I was like, "You tell him, Sharif. You freaking tell him." Because I mean, I would, drill sergeant wouldn't put up with that crap. I don't know why a teacher should put up with that crap. I mean, we're not soldiers, but nevertheless, we're there to do a job, you know. Anyways, I think just a few more minutes here, and I'm gonna take off. So if there are any, yeah, I know, right, Die Bullfrog? By the way, Die Bullfrog, oh, it's all right. Just rambling in general about school life. Maybe someday, Die Bullfrog, you can show me your top secret lair. Sounds very interesting, I have to admit. I don't drive up I think I mentioned this in the email. I don't drive up to Oakland that much just because flying is so nice, but if I'm ever driving up, I think Visalia is kind of on the way to Oakland from here. Oh, advertisement for this multi-tool. The AI is alive. Yeah, I loathe driving long distances so much. I'm very rarely. Yeah. Oh shit, Visalia is not even close to being on the 5. Visalia is off the 99. That's a little bit of a. Although taking the 99 over to Tracy, I guess it's not that much further out of the way. Oh well. One of these days, I have a feeling we'll meet in the flesh, Die Bullfrog. One of these days. Since we are in the same state, we're only a few, like, 5 hours away. No, not yet. But what was I going to say? Oh, really, Hooples? You think the UK is dying? You don't think they're on the up and up? See you, Die Bullfrog. Thanks for coming by. I'm going to jump off pretty soon, anyways. Yeah, my biggest concern about the UK is that I think the majority of their economy is like finance based, and I know how strongly you feel about. I'm pretty sure Hooples, you were the one talking about like the U.S. economy is a sham. It's all service based. Well, if you think the U.S. economy is a sham, then the UK economy is just like rainbows and lollipops because they have a few companies over there that make things, but I think generally, they got like Rolls Royce and stuff over there, and but like everything that new, all the bastardization of the service and financial market that the U.S. picked up, like New York picked up, that transferred over to San Francisco and L.A. and kind of spread across the country. That was all from London. You know, London was around way before America was around, and they were doing that whole, um, yeah. No, banks don't have any loyalty. You think they're doomed by Brexit? Really? That's really interesting. I think they might. I think the EU, maybe the better way to put it is, I think the EU is going to doom all of Europe. I don't think the EU is a good idea. I don't think trying to run all these different countries as one country is the. I mean, if they were one country, that'd be one thing. But you know, they're trying to run the EU like the federal government runs the United States of America, except we all are part of the same country. So federal law is already a blanket over all the states, just like the territories in Canada are all part of Canada. But if all the territories were different countries, imagine like the Canadian Union trying to run all the different territories at the same time, just kind of like picking and choosing what little laws would like work here and there. You know, it'd be a disaster, I think. So I don't think the EU is and to be honest, I really don't know like the big difference between territories in Canada versus states in the United States. I know they call them territories. I don't know how that. And God, I feel like a little bit of a goofball for not understanding this better. But oh, provinces. Sorry, provinces. Forgive me. So they have 10 provinces and several, but there's also 3 territories. Man, I got to read about Canada, I guess. The provinces are considered to be sovereign within certain areas based on the division of responsibility between the provincial and federal government within the Constitutional Act of 1867. Each province thus has its own representative of the Canadian Crown, the Lieutenant Governor. Fascinating. I don't think Canada wants me. Canada has pretty strict requirements on legal immigration. They don't take anybody. I think I'm too white for Canada. Canada wants more of the foreigners, I think. I mean, trust me, Hooples, if I came from any other country besides the United States, I would very, very strongly consider being a Canadian. And it's not because I think like the US is better or something like that. It's just that we have, uh, you know, we're kind of like big brother of the world right now. So generally speaking, we can kind of go almost anywhere that doesn't hate us. Although Canadians are certainly more well received, probably internationally, than Americans are. In fact, if I wanted to just travel all the time, being Canadian would probably be great. In fact, if I was ever in trouble, I might even have to convince someone that I was Canadian just so they didn't think I was a dirty American. Become an expat in times of peril and overseas, right? But I got nothing against Canada, but my heart belongs in this country, Hooples. I hope you can understand that. And this country needs me, Hooples. This country I mean, it doesn't need me, the individual, but it needs people like me that want to fight for what's right, you know? Yeah, probably a lot less violence up there than in Los Angeles, that's for sure. You probably didn't have what I think Chicago had 40 murders in the last 3 days. Population control. You mean positive or negative, though, Hooples? Or do you mean like keeping a citizen in the country they're born, like making me not want to become an expat because I love America too much? I mean, I guess you're right either way, but I think there's something special about America. I really do, and I think it's pretty clear that America is under attack from inside and with outside, mostly from inside, which is really disgusting. Um, well, yeah, we're all just people. I see what you mean about war. Yeah, well, notice I haven't signed and served, Hooples. I mean, I respect the military and everything, but the time that I almost signed and served was right after 9/11, and I knew we were going to go to war over that crap. So I didn't, and I wouldn't sign. You know, if I did sign and serve, I would have followed every single order that I thought was legitimate. So if they told me to go get in a plane and go shoot people on the ground because that's what the commander says, I don't have nightmares the rest of my goddamn life about shooting civilians or shooting terrorists that happen to be civilians or et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I know we're just people, Hooples. I know we're all people. I'm all for bringing the troops home. Not a very patriotic opinion, I suppose, but there are a lot of conservatives in this country that would be more than happy to bring all the troops home. Bring all the troops from Korea, bring all the troops from Syria. We got military bases all over the damn world. And, I mean, I don't think putting, soldiers in every street corner is like the greatest solution to our problems and violence, but there are some neighborhoods in this country that should probably have soldiers like in the neighborhoods because they're just freaking war zones. Yeah, I mean, I spent my whole life here, Hooples. And Canada's nice. It's a little cold, but I don't know if I could become an expat. I wouldn't mind spending time in Canada and living up there, but to be an expat, to renounce my U.S. Would I have to renounce my U.S. citizenship? I don't think they're going to give me dual citizenship. I could stay up there on a visa or something, but if I want to be a Canadian citizen, I think I have to renounce my U.S. citizenship. My mom would kill me. I was almost born in Scotland. Anyway, Supils, it was good. It was good chatting with you. And landed immigrant, if citizen. Oh, so I could be a landed immigrant and keep my citizenship, or I could be a citizen and then I would have to renounce the U.S. Okay, landed immigrant. All right, yeah. Thanks, Hooples. Take care. Um, hope you're doing well, and it was good talking to you, brother. Take it easy and keep prepping.